there's a smile that very few have seen. A smile shared within the private walls of the Vatican, between the Pope and one of the world's most authoritative traditionalist bishops. No journalists were present. Until a few weeks ago, no one knew anything about it. That smile and what it signifies is the key to understanding what's about to happen to the Latin Mass in the Catholic Church. And everything will be decided in June. Stay until the end. What we're going to reveal to you today won't be found in the mainstream media. And once you've grasped the full story, you'll ask yourself a question that won't let you sleep. On December 18th, 2025, Athanasius Schneider had a private audience with Leo XIV. A few weeks ago, Schneider revealed the details of that meeting to FSSPX News and Info Vaticana. The meeting was, in his words, open and cordial. Schneider presented the Pope with a precise list, the 5 plagues of the Church. The first plague is doctrinal confusion, which can be cured with a solemn and binding profession of faith. Second plague, liturgical anarchy and the clash over the Latin Mass. Third plague, questionable episcopal appointments, with bishops and cardinals acting for worldly purposes. Fourth plague, priestly formation lacking in doctrine, morality, and liturgy. Fifth plague, the difficulties affecting the contemplative life, aggravated by the instruction cor orans. Schneider explicitly asked the Pope to issue an apostolic constitution to liberate the traditional Mass. Then came the moment no one expected. Leo XIV spoke of the testimonies of young people he had met in person, converted to God through the Latin Mass, and he did so with a smile, with genuine surprise at the spiritual power of that liturgical form. In public, however, when asked where the traditional Mass will go, Leo XIV responds, "Between the Tridentine Mass and the Mass of Paul VI, I don't know where it will lead. It's obviously very complicated." A smile in private, ambiguity in public. And now we come to today's events. On April 14th, 2026, the Catholic Thing published exclusive details on the extraordinary consistory of cardinals scheduled for June 26th and 27. The liturgy is explicitly among the main topics on the agenda. Cardinal Arthur Roche, prefect of the Dicastery for Divine Worship, custodian of Traditionis Custodes, has already prepared a document for the cardinals. That document strongly defends the post-conciliar liturgical reform and rejects any return to the pre-conciliar rite as a normative option for the Church. The Pope smiles privately. Roche responds with a document. At the same time, Leo XIV wrote to the French bishops asking for a generous inclusion of those attached to the Latin Mass and instructed Cardinal Aveline to explore ways to resolve the tensions. Cardinal Hollerich, far from a traditionalist, declared, "I can imagine a future with more flexibility for the Tridentine Mass." So, smiles, signs of openness, and a document from Roche that points in the opposite direction. Let us stop and look at this story in its entirety, because ecclesiastical politics rarely shows itself so clearly. Schneider is not just any bishop. He is one of the few pastors in the world with direct access to the Pope and who speaks openly in favor of Catholic tradition without diplomatic filters. When he talks about a Leo XIV smiling at the Latin Mass, he doesn't do it to create illusions. He does it because that's what he saw, face to face, without microphones. That smile says something precise and important. Leo XIV is not blind to the spiritual power of the traditional liturgy. He knows it works. He knows it converts young people. He knows it attracts believers who would otherwise have left the Church. For anyone genuinely concerned about the future of the Catholic faith, This is information impossible to ignore. But between knowledge and action lies a chasm, and in that chasm lives Cardinal Roche. Roche is the custodian of Traditionis Custodes, the decree with which Francis, in 2021, practically abolished the liberalization of the traditional Mass desired by Benedict XVI with the Summorum Pontificum of 2007. A custodian doesn't give up the keys easily. His document for the June consistory isn't a proposal for dialogue. It's an ideological trench. Whoever controls the liturgy controls the future of the Church. Roche knows full well what he's defending and what he's trying to prevent forever. And in June, before cardinals from around the world, that document will become the official position from which they will debate. Thus, the brutal structure of the problem emerges. The Pope privately thinks yes to the Latin Mass, says "I don't know" in public, and his liturgical prefect says no, officially and in writing. These three positions must be reconciled in June. It won't be possible to remain in three different directions before the cardinals of the world. Something will have to give, and the question is what? There's a historical comparison worth making. Benedict XV, before being elected Pope in 2005, was already known for his sympathy for the traditional Mass. As a cardinal, he had written things that gave traditionalists hope, and when he became Pope, he acted accordingly. In 2007, he published Summorum Pontificum, freeing the Latin Mass with an act of clear and courageous papal authority. The question every traditionalist asks today is Leo XIV a Benedict XVI, a pope who smiles in private and then acts in public? Or will his smile remain confined within the walls of a private room, while outside, Roche writes the document that buries the traditional Mass forever? Francis would never have received Schneider like that. He would never have smiled at the Latin Mass. He would never have commissioned a cardinal to explore avenues for traditionalists. This does not mean that Leo XIV will do everything that traditionalists hope. It means that dialogue is at least possible, that the doors are not closed, that there is a pope who listens. But listening is not enough. Leo XIV must deal with internal resistance from Roche and the bishops who have applied Traditionis Custodes with enthusiasm and who do not want to go back. Catholic tradition has waited centuries. It waited for Francis. It will wait for June too. But June is near, and the Pope's smile is no longer enough. Action is needed. What do you think? If you liked the video, comment Amen. God bless you.